the June 7th meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. If I could have a roll call vote, please, by name.
Commissioner Barkley is absent. Commissioner Weinberger?
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Here.
Commissioner Harlow?
Here.
Commissioner Prisby?
Here.
Chairman Bonin?
Here. First off, the minutes of our May 3rd meeting. I assume you've all had a chance to look at them. Have there been any changes or suggestions that you came across?
I
John,
just
I had
have,
something on the second page.
go ahead.
So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs down where it says my name. It says 4 or 6 caliber trees.
Oh, good.
It's supposed to be diameter, 4 to 6 inch diameter trees. That was the only change I had.
I have one on the next page, second paragraph down where you see my name. Donors to plaque instead of pavers or even trees that will need replacing instead of replaced.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Everything else read okay?
On page 2, John, it's a typo. Michelle Fisher at the top. Michelle Fisher and Laurel Harlow Board of Trustees, plural. Since we're,
Editing.
No, these are good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended, please?
I move to approve the meeting minutes of Wednesday, May 3rd, as amended.
Second, please.
Second.
Voice vote, please.
aye.
Want me to-
Aye.
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 Is that okay with you?
That's okay.
Right. We have a public meeting to start out with and then 2 public hearings. So the public meeting does not require people to be sworn in. Case HPC-8-2023, 420 East 7th Street, a preservation incentive for historically significant structures property. Request for an alternate bulk zoning regulation, building permit fee waiver, and expedited processing. They're proposing a construction of a detached garage and yoga studio. Would the applicant approach the podium, please, and introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm the owner of the property, Ted Frankel, along with my wife, Catherine. I appreciate your time and consideration of our project, and I also want to thank Bethany. She's been great in helping to guide us and as the first applicant for this new important program. Architects are Mike Abraham, who is right here, and Kevin Geist, and appreciate your time. We are building a new garage structure. Our kids are entering high school next year and need additional space for their car, and going to use the additional space as a yoga studio / office for myself. It has a bathroom, and there'll be a little bit of storage underneath, but it's a relatively simple project, and we've tried to respect the existing home and structure and try to mirror that and create kind of a courtyard feel in our backyard. And we're really happy with the work that Mike and Kevin did, and we're looking forward to starting construction.
Okay. Who would like to start out a conversation?
Well, I'll start and say that, thank you. We're excited that this is our first application. And, I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to say, except it looks fabulous. I think you have done a nice job of reflecting the home's architecture, look, style. I know Mike does great work with that, so you picked the right guy. I actually, interestingly, was just with the previous homeowner, and she was happy to hear that you were doing what you're doing. She said it was very complicated. They actually had to return a car because their first car didn't fit in the garage that you have, so she was
I had two
excited.
cars when we bought the house. Needed to get exchanged.
Oh, yeah, that works.
So I'll piggyback on what Shannon said. It's great to have an application for this program, and we're pleased you're the first one. The criteria that are listed as part of the code include the new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. This addition does all of that in spades. And so it seems like kind of a slam dunk. I imagine we're gonna have some cases where maybe that's not the case, but at least in this one, I think it's fantastic. Also, the setback that you're asking for, the side yard of about 10.5 feet, falls within the parameter of what's allowed with Title 14. So there's no, it's not a ZBA situation. So I don't have anything further to say other than thank you, and it looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also like to add that I think Michael and his team did an excellent job mimicking the house and all the details that they clearly went through a lot of trouble to match at the house, or at least be reflective of the existing architecture. And they should be commended for their work.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think it looks very nice, very good, so I agree with everyone here, so. It's a very good attempt to stay within character. So, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
It looks like a good project and an excellent application too, by the way, which we appreciate. I guess the only comment I would make, and it evidently is not part of your plan, but just going forward, we do have zoning about putting in plumbing and things in ancillary buildings like this. You can have either a kitchen or a bathroom. You've chosen to do the bathroom. You would not be allowed to proceed putting in a kitchen and making a dwelling unit out of it at any time, so that you know that going forward.
Yep, understood.
Yeah.
No plans for it to be
Yeah,
a
yeah.
dwelling.
Good, okay. Well, this is exciting for us to get this program off the ground. It's a good application to begin with. Anybody have any further comments? Could I have a motion, please?
So I'll move, see if I'm, Bethany, you'll have to tell me if I'm doing this correctly since we haven't done this before. I'll move to approve case HPC-8-2023, 420 East 7th Street, approval of a preservation incentive certificate. Do you
And
like-
do you want to specifically add in the request for the alternative zoning and the 3 items?
Yes. Approval of alternative zoning regulations, a building permit fee waiver, and expedited processing under a preservation incentive application.
Perfect, thank you.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Weinberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
Aye.
Chairman Bonin?
Aye. Motion is carried. Congratulations.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
you. And I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, now we're going to move into some public hearings. Anybody that intends to speak, please stand and be sworn in. Right. First hearing is case HPC-6-2023, 225 East First Street. certificate of appropriateness to demolish a single-family home and construct a new single-family home in the Robbins Park Historic District. Will you please introduce yourselves?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Patrick McGinnis. I'm an attorney with Donatelli and Koulis. We represent the applicant, which is H. Harrison Development LLC, so that's the owner of 225 East First Street, which is located in the R1 zoning district. The architect for the property is Bruce George. He couldn't be here tonight due to a conflict, but here with the owner. The property is located in the historic district. It's not a historic landmark, and it's not on the National Register of Historic Places. And the applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness in order to demolish the home and construct a new single-family home. The new home was constructed in about 1900, and there was a significant addition put onto the property in 1989, and additional renovations were done in 2002. The siding and window surrounds were replaced, the original window openings were replaced, and the front porch was completely rebuilt. And the Illinois Urban Architectural and Historic Survey noted that the architectural integrity was compromised due to the removal of the historic fabric, additions, and alterations. And if you just look at the photos of the property from 1906 to its current state, a lot of the features are similar, but it does look like a different home. The new home will be a 2-story home with a detached garage, a pool house, and a pickleball court. All plans are code compliant. The style will be in English country manner. It's got whitewashed brick veneer, cedar paneling, and cedar shake siding. And we sent notice to all the neighbors. The only responses we received were positive, including the neighbor across the street who told us they were fully in support and they thought it looked like a beautiful home. So happy to answer any questions.
Let the record show I'm going to recuse myself as I did in the prior hearing due to my proximity of my home to this. So any comments may proceed now.
I'd like to note for the record that staff before this public hearing received a voicemail from a neighbor that was, she only gave her first name, didn't give her address and no contact information, that they were against the demolition. That was a voicemail. And then I did receive an email from someone named Jeff Greg Nolati, who wanted me to read his email into the record. So if that's okay, I'm gonna do that for right now, and I can give you this after. It says, "Dear members of the Historic Preservation Commission, I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing to express my strong objection to the proposed demolition of 225 East First Street in Hinsdale. As a concerned neighbor and a staunch advocate for preserving local architecture, I firmly believe that the historical and aesthetic value of this house, especially along such an important thoroughfare as First Street, should be recognized and protected. The character of surrounding homes in Hinsdale was one of the key determinations when I recently bought my home, originally built in 1897. Destroying such a historically significant property would not only erase an essential piece of Hinsdale's past, but also deprive future generations of the opportunity to learn from and appreciate the unique heritage of our town. Especially on First Street, an iconic stretch of Hinsdale, the current plans that involve placing 2 garages in front of the main house and adopting aesthetics resembling 2 recently constructed neighboring homes at 241 and 244 East First Street would not only disrupt the visual harmony of the area, but also significantly diminish its overall appeal. I understand that progress and development are necessary for a thriving community. However, it is equally crucial to strike a balance between growth and preservation. Otherwise, Hinsdale loses its character and could be interchanged with any other western suburbs with good schools. I respectfully urge the Commission to explore alternative solutions that would allow for the preservation of the historically significant house. Thank you for attention to this matter. I trust that you will carefully consider the importance of preserving Hinsdale's historical legacy for current and future generations." So that is the email.
Comments?
Well, I think it's important to note, the commission appreciates getting both the email and the voicemail. It should be clear from our prior meeting, when we discussed this property, our prior, that the commission is not in favor of having this house torn down. Hinsdale is not a home rule community, and so we don't have the ability to stop the demolition. We can express our opinion. Hopefully the homeowner, Mr. Gavin, that's correct pronunciation, yes, you know, took to heart some of the comments that were made at the last meeting, but that is the extent in terms of the authority of what this commission can do. So my reading particularly of the email was, we agree. I hope that the residents understand that there is, at the end of the day, nothing that we can do to stop the demolition. We are purely advisory. So we appreciate the comments. I'm glad they were read into the record. We hear what they're saying. We agree with them, but we don't have the legal authority to stop the demolition.
I would also encourage those people to speak up when we get into the meat of the Title 14 changes later. These are the people that need to show up and actually be vocal to support this.
Agreed.
I got a question. Since you did this 4 years ago approximately, and everybody assumed you were gonna be living in the home, are you planning to live on this home? Or are you gonna put it on the market again like you did with the one on County Line?
No, this was custom designed for us.
It was what, sorry?
This was custom designed for us to live in.
But wasn't the other one the same? The one on County Line?
No, that was listed from day one.
That's,
That was listed day one.
I was under the impression when you came that it was gonna be, you were gonna be living in it.
No.
Okay. Don't you remember that, Jim?
I don't remember the exact details on that one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't remember the exact details on that.
Well, the bottom line is that there seems to be a consistency, that you go to the old homes available, and then tear them down without any consideration of maybe working with the existing design, modifying, changing it, updating it, whatever you need to do. No different than finding a relic car that it's near a junkyard and you want to fix it and bring it back to its original design. And I too have appreciation for cars, just like you, because I know you do. And I see a wonderful old car, I just want to restore it, because that's what I do, I restore things. And same, I look at that homes the same way. I think we do share the same passion, I just think that the passion for you is strictly different and objective in another direction. But I would think that bringing value to a neighborhood has substantial credibility to the neighbors and certainly a huge respect to the residents. And whether, I'm sorry, what's your name, the attorney, sir?
Patrick McGinnis?
Patrick, yeah. The fact that, I think, what did you say, I can't remember word for word, you said about the landmarks, that you said the home was, what did you use? You said compromised? Yeah, it was compromised.
Architectural integrity had been compromised.
Everything is compromised. We can talk about every historical building. So my point is, that's a weak argument. So I work with so many variety of different older homes and new homes too, not necessarily, even new homes. And there has to be a will and, for the homeowners decision that they say, you know, we're going to work with this and make it beautiful. Sure, we're going to have to add to the back and have to replace the plumbing, update the home. But at the end, that home, as far as the streetscape, still looks almost like it was then. You are aware we're pretty much a tear down village or and it's been written up many years ago, that developers seek Hinsdale because it seems that our code seems to be somewhat relaxed. That makes it easy, just like our committee, that we don't have any teeth. And I understand that. I just think that it's up to the residents to make decisions that are within character of the neighborhood. So that's all I have to say.
I have to say that after I toured 420 South Park, a couple weeks ago, it's a home that was almost going to be torn down, and the person who eventually purchased it has done a phenomenal job of keeping the home, keeping the grounds. The house inside is to die for. She did a fabulous job restoring, respecting the home. She had stories and things. She talked about things that she found buried underneath plaster. After seeing truly what can be done to a home, I can't support tearing this down. There's so much potential.
Any further comments?
No.
Any further comments from the applicant? So I guess we do one motion or two?
You guys generally do two, one for the certificate of appropriateness for demolition, one for the certificate of appropriateness for new construction.
So we would call now for a motion concerning the demolition of the home.
And Bethany, didn't you say last time you wanted these to be positive?
Yes, it's always a good idea to make the motions affirmative and positive, so I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness for demolition, XYZ, and then if you disagree, you would vote nay, versus I move to not approve. It makes it cleaner to just motion to approve.
Kind of hard to say, but I'll say it.
You don't have to vote in favor of it.
I move to approve case HPC 6/2023-22, 225 East First Street, certificate of appropriateness to demolish a single-family home.
Second.
Okay, roll call
Any
vote.
discussion? Roll call vote.
Commissioner Weinberger,
No.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Okay, I want to understand this before I say anything. So you went, okay, if you oppose it, you say what? Sorry.
if you oppose it, you'd say nay. No.
Okay, nay.
Commissioner Harlow,
Nay.
Commissioner Prisby,
Nay.
and Chairman Bonin, you're abstaining.
Abstained. Okay,
Joseph Gaben, Ghaben. Ghaben. Yes. And what was the initials of your company? H. Harrison Development.
So the letter H, and then Harrison Development LLC.
so the first motion concerning the demolition failed to pass.
Correct, motion failed.
All right. The second part of this would be the construction of a new single-family home in its place. Comments, please?
What's the comment?
I have no additional comments.
I don't
Sean.
have anything to say.
I mean, honestly, we go through this a lot, right? There's really no point of going through materials and
Yeah,
streetscape.
why
and
bother? Yeah, there's just,
It's the 11th hour, and we're just advisory, and this isn't a position now to advise on designs.
yeah, I don't
It
think
is
that's
what it is.
appropriate.
Therefore,
Well, Mr. Gaben has the right to due process, so I will move to approve case HPC-6-2023, 225 East First Street, certificate to construct a new single-family home in the Robbins Park Historic District.
Second.
Roll call vote, Commissioner Weinberger,
Nay.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Nay.
Commissioner Harlow,
Nay.
Commissioner Prisby,
Nay.
Chairman Bonin.
Recused. Okay, so that will close the public hearing, HPC-6-2023.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to reopen a public hearing. Is that correct?
Correct.
For case HPC-7-2023, and this is consideration of a number of different properties for the inclusion in the historic significant structure property list in the historic overlay district. So there are 6 or 7 different properties that we will be looking at here. So do you want a motion to open the public hearing on this?
Please, that would be great.
Okay. May I have one, please?
I move to open the public hearing on case HPC 7-2023, consideration of properties for inclusion on the historically significant structures property list in the historic overlay district.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Weinberger,
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow,
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby,
Aye.
Chairman Bonin.
Aye. Okay. During this public hearing, we'll consider various properties proposed for inclusion on the historically significant structures property list in the historic overlay district. If anyone in the audience wishes to speak on this matter in general or regarding any particular property on the list, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in. Seeing no members of the public and hearing no comments,
And what we've done in the past is we've kind of gone through each of these one by one. So we can kind of go through this list right now, and then, and the commission has then decided which criteria it will meet for each of these properties. I apologize, we didn't get the PowerPoint up like we did before, but we can flip through this packet page by page and kind of go through. There are 8 properties up for inclusion for this round. This is our 3rd round of properties, and we are already working on our 4th round of properties. So we've had some great momentum for everyone that's excited to get on our list and apply for a preservation incentive like our first application we saw today. So 8 of the 8 properties here, 7 of these are in DuPage County and 1 of which is in Cook County. So unless there's any other questions, we can kind of go through this packet together. The first house that was up for inclusion, consideration for inclusion, is 228 South Clay Street. Both the reconnaissance survey from 1999 that considered this house significant, and the Town of Hinsdale survey in 2001 considered the house potentially significant.
and our list of criteria,
Yeah, that's,
On the right.
It's, the list of criteria was included in Exhibit 4, so it's the page right before that
Right.
first page for 228 South Clay.
Got it.
So if you need to rip it out,
got it.
it may be helpful.
So I would say that this home certainly meets
oh,
number 3.
let me see. Yeah, I think it's easy for a quick call.
Yeah, there you go.
That's all I've got, number 3.
And remember, it only needs to meet at least one criteria, so,
So it meets number 3,
Yeah.
yep,
everybody's opinion?
Yeah, that's fine.
good.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
228 South Clay.
So the next house up for inclusion is 142 East First Street. This is a really great pleasure to bring this one forward to you guys. This house is considered significant, National Register material, historically significant per our reconnaissance survey from 1999. the Robbins Park Survey from 2002. It is officially already listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And it was referenced in Mary Sterling, one of Mary Sterling's books from 1997. And I've done you the good favor of including the original National Register nomination document from 1989 in here if anyone wanted to read it.
Right.
It's called the William Whitney House, commonly referred to, or the Hallmark House because it was referenced in a Hallmark commercial back in the 70s or 80s or 90s.
Certainly 3, at least, to start with that.
And I would also say criterion 2, because
Yes.
of the association with Whitney.
And 5,
Yes.
well, and 6.
Yeah, would 6 qualify? I would
6, I think.
think. Yeah.
Okay.
So 2, 3, 5, and 6.
I,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I have a number 1, I'm just read it over and over. It says the property or one or more structure on the property are associated with the event that have made a significant contribution to the board patterns of our history. You could say that because it's contributing to the history of the neighborhood. So you, number 1.
And it was in a Hallmark commercial.
Okay.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6.
Before we leave this house, I want to note that this house is probably this fall going to be put on the market.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
How do you know
a big
that?
lot,
How did you
too.
find out?
To the
Is-
church.
Oh, to the church.
The church, Grace Church Hinsdale owns this property. It's one of 2 rectories that they own. And they are likely to put it on the market at the end of the summer or
It
in
has a
beginning of
huge
fall.
lot. That's the big.
It has a huge lot, so I would just say that I would think that this house is soon going to be in significant danger. So I don't know if there's anyone out there in the ether who's listening, but if, if anyone knows of anyone who's interested in an Italianate Victorian, this one might be coming up.
What's the size of the lot, do you know? Is it subdividable?
No,
I don't believe so.
no.
It's a corner
Because it's
lot.
got that huge side yard
No.
on the west.
Yeah.
The code calls for 125 feet.
Well, in this case, it would have to be 60,000 square feet too, to subdivide it into 30,000 each lot.
Yeah, well, so we can figure this
Frontage
out.
calls for 125
Right,
feet.
125, yeah, I just wondered if it wasn't sure if it was 250 feet long.
No,
There's really no path to getting around that part of the code to protect the historic house. Okay.
Yeah, okay,
it's not subdivided.
yeah, up from the National Register plat, I should say, from the plat that was submitted for the National Register, the lot is 30,090 feet,
Yeah. can't be
177 by
subdivided.
170.
What is the zoning to the west for the church? Do we know?
The church is part of the PUD.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's an interesting history that we recently looked into where there was, when the church was put into a planned development, I think in the early 2000s, there was consideration of putting the house in the planned development or leaving it out. And for whatever reason at that time, which it wasn't 100% clear of why this decision was made, they decided to leave the house outside of the planned development because they actually thought that would help preserve it more and protect it. So the decision was made back then, and here we are now, so it doesn't need to be taken out of the planned development. It was before it was even created.
Right.
Now, on Blaine Street, the offices are on Blaine Street. Across the street from those, that's considered R4 for that block?
To the north or to the south where the
This
church
would be
is?
to the east side of Blaine. Are those, what's the zoning district for those small houses? I don't think that's R1.
No, I think it,
Good thing I put a zoning map in this packet.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
except you have to have really good eyes.
Yes. Yes,
I
so
think it's R4.
I believe if we're looking here, I believe to the north is R4, to the east, where the, what is that, what's that church right to the north of Grace
Yes.
Church?
So Redeemer Lutheran.
Yep, so the Redeemer Church is in the IB district, just like Grace
Right,
Church
so everything north of that on Blaine Street is,
is R4. And
what
then
about on
right at the
Park?
corner is one residential R1 district lot. Yeah, if you squint really hard, you can see it.
Yeah, yeah, it's, okay. Yeah, you do, it's, I think maybe you're right, I think it's an R.
And
And it's R4.
the Hallmark house is this lot?
I think it's this one. I think it's that here, right there, yeah. 'Cause
But this is
Park.
zoned R1.
I know this is kind of a radical thinking, but what are the chances of getting that particular lot rezoned? If it's adjacent to, let's say, another zone, another R4 district. It's kind of on a corner. Now, I'm just looking at ways to change the zoning to allow for a narrower lot that doesn't require so much square footage. And there's R4 right there with a couple of churches around it.
The R4 is not contiguous to this.
Right, that's why I was asking kind of where it is.
Okay.
You do have a church in between. I'm just trying to find any kind of radical way to save the house. If it was zoned R4, you'd be able to subdivide the property, sell off half of it, and keep this house exactly where it is.
Yeah, that's, if you can do that, and you still gain a good chunk of piece of property.
Right.
I would make this home's property as narrow as possible.
And I'm not even saying that's the right thing to do for that neighborhood, especially on First Street, right? But it is a way you could subdivide the property because the house is shifted to the east so far that you could probably subdivide that into two.
No, you can't, because, here,
Go ahead.
when you go back to the history of what we tried to do to assist the Grace Church,
Which I'm not aware of that history.
okay, there was a nice Italianate house between this house and the church.
Okay?
Very nice Italianate house. So you had two nice houses on two nice lots. And the church came and they wanted to make bigger parking lots. And so we allowed them to take the Italianate house down to accommodate that.
Okay.
And that's how we got into this PUD discussion about what are gonna be the trade-offs for a PUD.
Got it.
So then the church moves over to the west of the actual church, and they build a brand-new rectory over there. And at that point in time, they had two rectories. For what reasons, we're not sure. But the head reverend always lived over on the Whitney house with his family. I'm not sure why the second rectory was built. But if the second rectory was built to accommodate the rector, so that they then could shoehorn the sale of this house and pocket the money, that's not in keeping with the tone of why the village worked with the church in the first place.
Got it.
To have a PUD.
I was unaware of that history.
Yeah, so there would be those that would look down their nose at the church for now putting the Hallmark house on the market. And I think it's safe to say that there will continue to be those that will look down their nose, depending on what the future of the Hallmark house is. Because if a person wanted to cast a villainous thought and say this is all part of the original plan to be able to sell the Hallmark house and pocket the money, well, that would not be a good thing. That would not cast the church in a good light.
Fair enough.
So I think we can't pontificate on what hasn't happened. Bill, a member of that church, tells us that he feels it's going to come on the market, and so this is going to be coming our way. But I would think there'd be a whole lot of soul searching before anybody was allowed to buy that house and tear it down. And to have to jump through hoops to save that house, when in fact we went through hoops to already save that house, seems superfluous to me.
I worry about that they might try doing something similar to they did, try to sell it over the weekend like they did with Frank Lloyd Wright home here, where it went on the market like Friday. I don't know the whole story, but it went out very late, and it was, and then
Right.
and so, and who knows who these builders are? They're coming from everywhere. I mean, they're not just coming from even Hinsdale.
Well, again, I'm going to give the church the benefit of the doubt.
Maybe we
I
should
think
be-
the church has always been a good citizen. We certainly, each of us knows many members of that congregation. Certainly, churches have all kinds of reasons to need money, but before we start assigning a villainous attitude towards the thoughts behind the church's motivation, let's see how the church behaves. Let's see if the church goes to market with the stipulation that the house can't be torn down. Very possible.
it'd be a good idea if we can start talking to the church early on. Just,
So staff has been in communication with members of the church, and I will say they obviously have been proactive because they're proactive enough to get this house on our historically significant structures list in anticipation of if they are gonna put it on the market. So, and they're very aware that when they get to that stage, if they get to that stage, staff is here to work with them, any future prospective buyers, and do our best to make sure that this house
And I'm
doesn't
going
get
to
taken
suggest
down.
that the church also would be prepared to work with any prospective buyer,
Yep,
having a good community conscience. And there's a buyer out there to buy that house and fix it up. We all know that house. A number of us have had friends that have lived in that house. Certainly now with the incentives that we have and the ability
would be a great
to
candidate.
work with our zoning code, if everybody put their hands in the middle, church, village, new buyer, and said, let's really work to get the right buyer in here that'll preserve this home. I'm not sure, that the church would maybe get the same yield at that point, but I tend to think the church would have a better conscience working with a buyer than simply worrying about the money that they might generate. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
And Bethany, I would echo, it is the church who owns the house, and they are the ones who submitted it for this list tonight.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
They are being proactive, and
Right.
we should commend
Right.
them for
yeah,
that.
and it's not on the market
right.
at this point.
Right.
So,
Correct.
I mean, I think this is indicative of the fact that they want to try and solve this for everybody's benefit
Yep.
by going through the motions
Yep.
of getting it on our list.
Yep. And what we've consistently said to anyone in the village is getting on the list early is the best thing you can do.
Yes.
It makes you just ready for those incentives. Whenever you get to that point, it makes it less of an unknown for future buyers. So we've really been pushing people, getting on the list is great for everyone. So commend them for that.
and now that house will be eligible for those.
The second if someone ever buys it, they will be eligible the minute they buy it.
Right.
They won't have to go through the process to actually get on the list. It just makes it that much easier.
Yeah.
Yep. Good. Any other comments on this one? Okay. The next house on the list up for consideration is 220 North Lincoln Street. This house, it was considered contributing per past surveys. We were able to actually get additional information from the homeowner and the Hinsdale Historical Society. We found out through some research that this house actually was previously on the Kitchen Walk and also was the former resident for Emmanuel Carlson, and which he used to own the E. Carlson store at 52 South Washington Street. So there are some photos in here. We have a Hinsdalean article, and I learned a lot about this house as we were researching this. And thank you to the Historical Society for putting together a great write-up that the homeowners also shared with us.
So definitely number 2.
3, 2, also.
Okay, number 2 and 3. Any others? Okay, the next house up for consideration is 125 East Maple Street. This house was also considered contributing per 2 past surveys. It has been referenced in one of Mary Sterling's books from 1997. We believe this house was constructed in the late 1800s. It may be one of the oldest homes still standing in Hinsdale, and it is a great Italianate home, similar to another we just looked at. Two of the oldest Italianates in Hinsdale are on our list today.
Exciting.
Bethany, this is one I probably should not vote on.
Okay,
We did the massive remodeling and restoration of the porch cupola addition and eave line back in 1998, and then we have been doing a series of refinishing projects for the current owner. So, because I'm still actually working for them now, I think it's probably best that I don't vote on this one.
okay. So what we'll do when we get to the final motion at the end, we'll have a separate motion made for just this house, just kind of like what we did for when we had some recusals at the first round of properties.
okay,
And
sounds
so
good.
we'll separate this out.
Perfect.
So I would say it meets criteria 3.
And I will say one thing that we did come across as looking into this is there were some major players who were kind of very important in the creation of Hinsdale. We found out that Nathan Warren? Yeah, it's called the Nathan Warren House. He was critical in, the first government of Hinsdale, critical in putting some of the first sidewalks in Hinsdale. So there have been some important people to the history of Hinsdale that we found did live here.
Okay, number 2 and 3.
Okay.
Number 6.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? Okay.
I mean, actually, I think let's add 5.
Okay.
Being that it's one of our oldest homes, I think that's significant in our local history.
Good.
It's a neat house.
Great. Okay, the next house on our list for inclusion is 516 West Maple Street. This house, even though it has been changed over time, we believe was constructed in circa 1873. We were given some information here from the Historical Society as well as the current homeowners. We did find out this was the last residence of our first village president, Judge Joel Tiffany. And the Historical Society was kind enough to give us the photo in the packet, so you can kind of see the before and after. And there were some other people. The homeowner did give us some old newspaper articles in here. Interestingly, the homeowners previously did have 3 sets of photos. They had an artist hired to kind of show the transition of, based on old photographs to the current house. And then when they did a renovation project, believe it or not, they found a lot of old stuff in their walls. So she was kind enough to give us some of the photos of the old things that had been kind of shoved in between walls or behind fireplace mantles. Unfortunately, we couldn't figure out, you'll see there's photos of a young man who looks like he's in military garb, and then a young lady. We couldn't figure out who those 2 people are. So if anyone does know and has information, please report them to the Community Development Department. But it was very interesting, and we were very lucky to at least get some information on this house. And it did have an important person living in here. The homeowners also did complete some recent renovation work, but it was to the rear of the facade, and you can't see it from the street.
So these items on the, one of these pages, the photographs, they were inside the wall, you said?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
And unfortunately, they couldn't figure out who some of these people were. But there are, old candy wrappers, there's old newspapers and letters. I know these aren't the best quality photos, but the homeowners will be happy to share any information if anyone is interested.
Very
Old ticket stubs and movie theater tickets, so kind of interesting.
So I would say criteria 2. Maybe 4.
2 and 4.
Okay? All right.
Yep.
Next next house on the, up for inclusion is 223 South Quincy Street. I will say, this is our third Italianate oldest house in Hinsdale, so we're very lucky to have three now. This house, we believe, was constructed circa 1870. There was a great write-up in one of Mary Sterling books as well that was included in here. We did have information provided by the Historical Society about some other facts. This was believed to be constructed by Oliver Stow. He was a big developer in Hinsdale in the early times. So we did have some write-up information in here.
Well, 3 is easy.
Yeah, 3 is always, you can just say 3 on all of them.
Is that it, 3?
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
3.
All right. The next house up for inclusion is 707 East 7th Street. This is our only property that's located in Cook County on this set of lists. Our 1999 survey did look at it as significant. I think we've mentioned this before in past lists. We have a harder time getting historic information on properties that are east of County Line Road. So I've included some photos here. Believe it or not, Dennis Rodkin, who's actually written about preservation in Hinsdale previously for Crane Chicago, he did write we found out who the original architect was, which was Elmer Carlson, and he did. I have searched high and low for more information on Elmer Carlson, the architect. The only thing I was able to find was this Twitter thread that he had written. And so I kid you not, I included the Twitter thread. He has done some really interesting, architecture, more of that mid-century style. But we included some of the photos in here. And he has done some pretty spectacular single-family homes that are much larger and more ornate. This is one of those homes. He also, in general, has done more of the smaller houses, but this is a truly exceptional example of his architectural style that we were able to track down.
Now, this house, I believe, is under contract? Is the closing?
Correct, yep. So we got permission from the existing owners, and the soon-to-be new owners have requested to get on the list. They're not quite sure what they're doing yet. They might do a small addition in the future and some exterior work.
So I guess 2.
Boy, Dennis did some digging.
Yeah.
I would say 3 as well. I mean, the quality of the materials on this house, the land and stone and the slate roof are,
All right, so
Superb.
2 and 3?
Yep.
All right. Okay, the final house on our list here is not too far from where we're currently sitting. We have 136 North Washington Street. This house, per past surveys, has been considered significant and historically significant. There is a write-up, we were given some information by the homeowner, and there is a write-up in one of Mary Sterling's books. And we believe this house was constructed in the 1883 time.
Three.
Yeah, I think 3 is pretty easy.
this is one of the houses on North Washington that led to the ultimately unsuccessful effort to really have North Washington be a historic district, including trying to restore the Brick Street for North Washington.
Interesting.
Many of them aren't with us anymore, but this one is,
It's right on the corner of Walnut, right?
yeah,
Yep.
southwest corner.
Okay, so number 3.
All righty.
Okay. So with that, we would probably want to have a motion to close the public hearing. And then if there's any other information that you guys would like to add, you're more than welcome to. And then we should have someone put together, we should have two motions. One where we would list off 7 of the properties together, and then we will separate the motion for 125 East Maple.
So first, we'll have a motion to close this public hearing,
Yes, please.
please.
I move to close this public hearing.
Second, please.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Weinberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
Aye.
Chairman Bonin?
Aye.
Okay.
And now,
So if you go to the middle of page 2,
right. A combined vote for the properties where the criteria is met?
yes.
Yes.
And then we will have someone read the recommended motion, and then I can read the list of addresses off.
Okay. So, do we have a motion for the recommendation to the village board?
I move to recommend to the village board approval of the following properties for inclusion on the historically significant structures property list in the Historic Overlay District under case HPC 7-2023.
Those properties being 228 South Clay, 142 East First, 220 North Lincoln,
And we'll
125.
hold 125 East Maple. We'll do a separate motion
Right.
for that.
Right. 516 West Maple, 223 South Quincy, 707 East 7th, and 136 North Washington Street.
Second.
Okay.
May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Weinberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
Aye.
Chairman Bonin?
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay. And then.
Now we need to have a separate motion for 125 East Maple Street to be included. May I have a motion, please?
I move to recommend the, oh wait, is that right?
Situation 3.
Situation, oh, there you go.
And you can, I think it's, it
I move to recommend
on the last page.
to the village,
At
but
the top of last page is where the motion.
I move to recommend to the village board approval of the following property for inclusion on the historically significant structures property list in the Historic Overlay District under case HPC 7-2023 for
125 East Maple?
125 East Maple.
Second, please.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Weinberger?
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Harlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
Hughes?
Yep. And Chairman Bonin?
Aye.
Great.
Okay, so now, we close the public hearing?
We closed the public hearing, so now we can move on to the next items on the
Right.
agenda.
Good. So how many properties do we have, Bethany?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask.
Oh, round number.
Well, we had 40-something
Right.
on our first list. On the next village board meeting on June 13th, we have the 309, we have another 14, I want to say, and this is another 8. So I can let you know at the next meeting how many we're at. And I'm working on round 4 right now, which has only a handful, but I know some people have some projects coming up that they're excited about, that they're looking to
But
get on
there's
the list.
steady flow.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. And we should, now that it's summer, you know, I'm hoping that we can maybe push some things out on social media as well. So
I was
that
gonna
would be
say,
good.
let's get some publicity going.
Yes, that'd be good. Because I think people see that, and every time we post something, every time I think we've also had stuff in the Hinsdalian. I'm not sure if you guys have been seeing almost every week, the Hinsdalian's done some really great articles.
Right.
And most of those houses have been on our historically significant structures list.
Yes.
So that's been great press coverage too. People can see that, and they usually will follow up after, so. And then hopefully, once we have some of these preservation incentive programs constructed and built, that would be some great press coverage as well. So,
Well, our 7th Street that we did tonight, is a great example.
Yes, and I may have already talked to someone about writing an article about that.
Great.
Oh, yeah, it's a really good idea.
Yes, I think it's great. I think showing those before and after pictures is gonna be fantastic.
Thanks.
And to show people really what it means.
Very good.
Bethany, to the extent that you all or other folks do that through the village website or other media, I had a conversation with one of the homes, with the owners of one of the homes that we approved this evening on the north side. And they were interested, but they were also concerned. They felt that they didn't necessarily know enough about this program, and
Yeah.
so they were concerned that, well, if we do this, is this one of these, we're totally locked in, possible negative consequences to resale value or that type of thing, and I explained that was not the case.
That's correct.
And so they went ahead, once they fully understood this. It would seem to me that probably we've already added over 60 homes now to this list that that there may be a way of using that number
Yeah.
as a marketing strategy to say,
Yeah, that's a real good idea, because I think people are still hesitant. They're on the fence.
that's right, yeah, but they said, more than 60 of your neighbors have already done this.
Yeah.
And this is what the program does. It's also what the program does not do,
Yeah.
in terms of property considerations or, et cetera. And I think there's value in that because we're in a different place now than we were, at the beginning of the year.
We're in different places we've been for 30 years.
Well, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I think, to Bill's point, at some juncture here, we ought to have a workshop.
That's what I was,
That'd be great.
exactly what I was
We've got
thinking.
some success here
Yeah,
to trumpet, and I think we should have a workshop and open that up to the public to further our educational component.
I don't know how
Great idea.
flexible and easy it is to add to the website, but it would be pretty cool to be able to go onto our website and take a look at what's happening to help people see that, cases like we heard about today, that it certainly helped them
Absolutely.
build something that's going to only enhance their
Yep.
historic property.
Yeah.
And to do something with the website so that we get pictures up there.
Yep,
Even
same with
like-
social media, of showing
Yeah.
those before and after photos and those
Yeah.
final results. It's hard right now without having any projects that have formally been built yet.
Correct, yeah.
But I think that'll be a huge portion of it once we have those projects in physical form. Yeah.
So Bethany, I wonder, this may be prohibitive because of the sheer volume, but the packets that you have supplied for these more than 60 homes, there's a lot of interesting material there.
Yes.
I don't know if the village can get all that up or not. I don't know if that's easy or not.
Yeah.
Or if it could be done in conjunction with the Historical Society perhaps, but
Yeah. I would like to get all of the individual things for every property that we've put through over time. I would like to get those posted online. Right now, and the code requires it, we have to put the list online. But once we have a little bit more time, maybe during winter, it would be nice to separate all these out. We have it. It's not that hard to do. It's not that much work. It just takes a little bit of time to make sure that all the information on those homes are here.
That'd be a
Why
great
don't we get
intern
ourselves
job.
an intern?
Yeah.
We have one right now.
Do
Okay.
you?
And you probably will meet her at our next
Nice.
meeting, so.
Because there's so much work that you guys have all done. It's a
Yeah.
shame to let this get squirreled away somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our intern right now, and I know we're getting off topic here, but this is under new business.
Oh.
Our intern right now, and Commissioner Prisby may be happy to hear this as well, she is helping us get our sign code a little
Oh.
bit put together.
Yay.
And part of that.
Thank you. Beloved God, help me.
And part of that is going to be the many conversations we've had over the last couple years and the document that Commissioner Prisby formally put together of not just having guidelines, but helping to codify certain types of signs that we like to see or don't like to see, especially for our downtown area. So we obviously have signage all over the village. You guys review the stuff that's in the downtown. it would be really great, and I think now's the time to just codify some of those historic district guidelines and make them just requirements. So she is doing a really good job helping with that. We had a draft sign code document that was put together from like a year or so ago that does need some cleanup help though. So it's not quite ready, but we'll be working on that, and that'll probably be coming to you guys, not necessarily at this meeting, but sent to you separately because we'll want your feedback on that. But
Is
it's
this a
very exciting.
summer intern?
This is a summer intern, correct?
When does summer end for the intern?
In August.
Tomorrow.
Yes,
December.
yes. Hopefully never, but she's been really great, and we're very lucky to have her. And she's doing a great job so far. And as you guys may know, our sign code needs a lot of love and a lot of help. So this is really exciting for advancing the things that we all want to see, the things that we ask people we don't want to see. You know, just put it in the code and make it something that we all agree on. So,
I did a lot of research on that years ago.
yes,
And.
and she's been given your
you know,
document.
If there's stuff you guys are considering or have kind of waffling on, by all means, send me the material to review or.
That would be great, because we will be
Happy
doing
to.
that. Once we have a more cleaned up document, we will be kind of reaching out to people. We might have some separate little, workshops here. We haven't quite figured out exactly how our process is gonna go quite yet, because we're just in the cleaning phase. But we will be looking for your feedback, so.
Perfect, great, thank you.
Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, that's very nice.
Bethany, I just want to say, and I know everyone else on the commission agrees with me, you too have done an amazing amount of yeoman's work on this, and it's
Yes.
really paying off.
Here,
You
here.
guys have as
Yes.
well.
Thank you.
Correct, thank you.
Thank you.
It feels different sitting up here. It really does. I mean,
It
after
is different.
after walking through Mimi's house the other day, that's just, I mean, that's what I hope that we continue to see. I mean, she, I mean, that was just a rock star thing she did.
Yep.
That house is fabulous, and she completely saved that whole corner there. I mean, that's
And that house
huge.
was deemed unsavable.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, that's right, see, you
Well,
should,
that's-
that
I
should be,
mean,
that's a
yes.
highlight.
I'm
'cause
telling
they-
you,
Yes.
that's what, I mean, don't even bother coming to ask us to say yes to anything
I
now
mean,
that
we
we
could
saw
use
it.
that every time somebody wants to,
Absolutely.
well, hey,
There
look,
are-
they did it.
she should be, we're working with her now. We're hoping that there are some items that she hasn't completed yet. So we're hoping that her application will be coming forward to you guys shortly as well.
When you look at that project there, from a zoning standpoint, from an interior,
Yeah. And she
small
didn't,
kitchen with the walls too thick to
Yeah.
move, all the things we heard
Yep.
for so many years.
and she didn't
reasons
need
why it
zoning
couldn't be
relief to do
saved.
it. This is before that program officially existed, so. And she did a fabulous job.
Fabulous,
Yeah.
Obviously, we have an opportunity here to turn this worm,
yeah.
and there's some really good, smart citizens that are assisting us in this stuff, not to mention Bethany and all her hard work, so. I know we're all thrilled as commissioners to see finally gaining traction. It's been many years up here, but
Meetings will
when I get
be,
an opportunity, I want to pat each and every one of you on the back.
meetings will be a lot more
Sure.
fun when it's looking at all these incentive cases and very few demo cases. That will be a completely fabulous.
I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
take a lot of work, like the example we had here at the beginning.
Yeah, a lot of
It's-
effort
it
already put
doesn't-
into
I
that.
mean, we're not trying to hold people, ties people's hands together and say you can't do any, no, definitely you have to improve your home. And certainly you have to expand, you have to change things. If you have to blow out one area of the home from the rear side or whatever, then you bring it over and keep it in character, that's,
Yep.
I get that.
Yeah, and there's some really good projects underway that will be coming before you guys fairly shortly, so.
Good, okay. So, I guess, any new business that we need to think about? How about a workshop? Why don't we put that on our list to talk about that in the future,
Okay.
okay?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Years ago, we had a workshop with a speaker and on a Saturday down here. And unfortunately, one of our citizens got a little rancorous and kind of usurped the workshop, but it was quite a turnout on a Saturday morning. We had coffee, donuts, and I think the mood has changed, and I think we have positive things we can discuss.
Yeah,
Emphasis on the word positive.
yep.
So I'd like to get that in the works again.
Good.
Any other new business that anybody would like to talk about? Our old business, Title 14,
No updates on our end.
yeah, I think the thing to do is to put this for a September call to get back in the saddle on Title 14 again. Resurrect the work we did with our consultant. That'll give us the summer to get through the things we're doing now and get everything in motion. And I'd like to pick up on this, try and make some progress prior to the end of the year. We don't have to redo it. We've already worked on it for a year and a half, all kinds of notes. I think a refresher course in September would be sufficient to jar everybody's memories, and maybe we can get some progress done so that we start out the new year with a couple of new slants to Title 14 and a couple new procedures, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah,
That works.
definitely. I think now with all this movement, we may be in a better position to move the needle further.
Nothing works quite as well as momentum, so.
Yeah.
Robbins Park gateway signs, same,
I have a little bit of an update here. So I had been trying to work with some sign contractors to give us a full packaging. So design services, fabrication, installation. As you guys may be aware, construction costs, including for signage, are just crazy right now. So what we're doing is we're gonna scale this back. We've talked with the village administration, and we're just right now going to get design services this year. That is gonna let us do two things. It's gonna let us step back a bit, take a little bit longer on getting a sign contractor to get exactly the type of signs that we want, and then we're gonna put a new item in the budget next year for actually fabricating and installing the signs. So we're still moving forward, we're just scaling it back a bit just because of how the costs are coming out. So I've re-asked all these sign contractors to just give me new quotes now for just design services. We did that a couple weeks ago, so we should know shortly what those quotes are and select someone. That is something we have already budgeted, and that's something that Kathleen can sign under the village manager's authority. So we should have someone selected soon. We should be kind of running full force then to design those signs based on all the work that you guys did previously.
what is the date, the end of this fiscal year?
December 31st. So we still
We're
have
back on
time.
a calendar.
Yep. So we still have time to complete the design services portion for this year, and then that'll mean we have an actual sign that everyone is okay with to bid out next year and get real costs for. And it breaks up those costs a little bit because the costs with all that included right now are just too high.
Would I be correct that we have our budget intact as a commission?
Yes, I don't know exactly what's in there right now. I know some things have been taken out for public hearings like they always are, but,
Right.
correct. And then, as part of the budget process, we'll be looking at the Historic Preservation Fund for all of our incentives again. And we will have a separate fund for the Robbins Park Historic District signage.
Can you get us an update on the balance in our budget
Yes,
for next meeting? Thank you.
Bethany, relatedly, do you know the status of the, the sign toppers project? I haven't looked at every street corner, but my sense is we're probably close to, if not already complete at this point.
I think we are complete. If you see one that's missing, just let me know.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
'Cause I'd like to know where the rogue signs went then.
Right. I've had a lot of comments from other folks around town who really like those.
Yeah, and I
Right.
think it'll be great when we have those gateway signs as well to blend into them and
Yeah.
make it really clear where our historic district
Right.
is. Just brings more visibility, which is what we're trying to do.
And you have a tollway sign now, huh?
Right.
Yay.
Okay, last item would be our Sixth Street concerns.
No updates, but I did finally put it as a continual agenda item here,
Great.
so that when we do, we'll at least have it on the agenda.
Thank you.
Good.
So I'm going to mention two quick things there, because I know you all want to stay longer. One of them is,
How do you know?
because it's like every meeting.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It's my understanding that the village is potentially going to be applying for, I think they're called ARPA funds, for the sewer and storm separation. And that will complete our obligation. It goes back almost 20 years now with Flag Creek, where we were under that arrangement that we had to separate all those in the village. Sixth Street apparently is one of the very last places where that has yet to be done. But Kathleen mentioned something to me the other day about that, and so it's possible that, and that's a significant part of the budget, is getting that finished. And so it's possible that that will help alleviate some of the financial stress of preserving these brick streets. So I just wanted to mention that. I'm hoping that that's the case. I believe that Kathleen said that the date for those funds has been extended up through 2025. And if that's the case, that also would help, because I would make the argument that if we, similar to what you were just saying on a much smaller scale with the gateway signs, if we can't afford to do it this year or next year, then let's husband those funds as a village and get 2 years appropriation
Right.
in order to do it right.
Right.
But it's possible that those ARPA funds might really help make that a possibility.
Well, let's make sure, to your point, that we set aside what we can now,
Right, yes.
and
Right.
not have it go towards a patio.
Yeah, it's part of the MIP. I mean, my sense is, from being a trustee, is MIP funds are fungible. But that tended, at least when I was on the board, to be, we still have MIP funds left for this particular type of work, so we can include another street or another block or whatever. It did not mean that those funds went to non-road projects. They were part of, they had to be spent on master infrastructure plan components. And so I would think, given that the MIP is almost finished, I think that the remainder of First Street and Sixth Street may be the last two items on the MIP, because we're in some year like 18 or something like that at this point. So, yes, I would think that those funds could be preserved for that purpose and carried over without being dispersed to other things.
Why don't we get an answer on that?
Yeah, who am I to say that's the case, but that's my understanding.
I'd feel good about having that segregated in writing.
That's all I got, Jim.
Great. You're okay, Bill.
Anybody else? Julie?
Did we pick a date for July?
We have not yet. It was seeming more and more based on everyone's availability. I think I haven't heard back from everyone that the 3 dates after July 10th, not including July 10th, but there were 2 or 3 dates I sent recently after that. Those are the ones that worked best for everyone. So I hopefully should be sending something out shortly, because I do have some people that were hoping to get on. We have a couple more, like I said, a couple more properties for our 4th list. And we may have a preservation incentive project, or at least 2.
Good.
So I'll send those out shortly so everyone can get that in their calendar. But the July 5th meeting will be canceled, so you can at least take it out of your calendar now. We weren't able to get a quorum for that. Yeah.
Okay, hearing no other comments, may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I move to adjourn.
Second,
Second?
voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.